Hey, welcome back. Okay, so this is episode 1 of Lost Gold World War II, and we're going to talk about what happened during the episode. So basically, there's a group of treasure hunters seeking some gold, and they're calling it the Mountain. And this is by, I believe it's by Teresa. It is by, let me see if I got the notes here. This is by Isabella, and it's a little north in Isabella. It's by Cagayan. I believe it might be Cagayan Dioro, but I'm not positive because they're not saying it. But I'm pretty sure that's near because Cagayan, they said, is to the north. Grandpa, if you do the estimates, is approximately 90 years old. And so, I mean, he's had a pretty decent life, but he's probably seen some horrors with the war and everything and poverty. And so, he tells them about the story about 1941 when the Japanese came in and they were building tunnels close to his home. The problem with this story is that in 1941, the Japanese were not in the Philippines. In 1941, and they asked him flat out, so Yamashita was here bearing gold, and he said yes. The problem is, in February of 1941, Yamashita was in Malaysia, and he was named the Tiger of Malay. And in March of 1941, he attacked Singapore, and during the battle and everything, and probably by July, Singapore had completely fallen. And so he became very, very popular in Japan. He was as popular as MacArthur or Eisenhower was in the United States. And Tojo was very jealous of it. So because of that, he was sent to Manchuria to watch over the Manchurian Guard. And this lasts from 1941 till about 1943. And basically, it was a punishment by Tojo because Tojo did not want Yamashita to be that popular, that famous. So, the tunnels being built there, if they were built in 1941, this would have been in December. And basically what the Japanese were doing at this time were stratifying their fortress. So they may have went to the east. It was only about 90 miles. And they made probably a lookout or a place where if Japan was getting attacked, they could actually fight back the Americans. Even though there may have been like 40 to 60 people in this cave, they were able to fight. Now, Filipinos, since Yamashita's gold is very popular in the myth in the Philippines, like to embellish stories. So they see a cave, and they know Japanese were in it, so automatically it's a Yamashita cave where gold was buried. And so the story gets bigger and bigger. Alright, so Yamashita was actually sent to the Philippines in 1943 after MacArthur went to Australia, got the remaining British soldiers and the Australian soldiers, and they started island hopping back to Tokyo to take over the Pacific. And MacArthur wanted to attack the Philippines. They could have just basically avoided the Philippines and just went north, but MacArthur had an obligation to rescue the Philippines and take it out of Japanese hands. When this happened, Yamashita was sent to the Philippines, and he said, to respond to MacArthur's "I shall return," was, I asked General Percival one question: are you here to surrender? I am going to ask MacArthur the same question. That's what he told the Japanese people. And so basically, over by Leyte, where MacArthur landed, they had a big battle, and Japan lost a bunch of ships and a bunch of airplanes, and it practically destroyed the Pacific Fleet of Japan. So after that battle, they went over and did it. The Americans actually were able to start to take the war back. And then they went to Taiwan, and they destroyed the Japanese air fleet there. And so when that happened, Japan was pretty much merciless. They could not win. It was over. And so MacArthur, they landed in Japan. They landed in Leyte. Then they went over to like Aklan, and then they went up and they attacked north of Baguio where the Japanese originally attacked, and they came back down the same path that the Japanese came down. One of the tactics Yamashita did was he fortified the mainland, Luzon and Mindanao, and left the other islands kind of free with some dispatch. I know there was a big battle in Lackawanna. It was torrential rains, it was flooding, it was very bad to fight there. But he fortified it and tried to make an outline of the island, and that's where the Japanese troops were. So when the Americans broke in through Baguio, the center of the island was empty, and the troops were on the outside. So they would have had to fight inwards. And so the Americans were actually able to come down rather quickly and then capture the sides very quickly. And so they asked Grandpa where to start, and he said, look for the pyramid. He said that many people have gone up and many people have died. There is probably poisonous gas in the mountains, probably natural gas that kills people. More people have died looking for Yamashita's gold from cave-ins and unhealthy work conditions, poisonous gas, than have found it. No one has found anything since 1971, 1972. It's been a total silence. If people have found it, they've either said the government's come in, took it, they were robbed, everything was going out, and everything was stolen, or they kept complete silence, because the Philippine government gets 70% of the take. You may as well just do all the work and let the Philippine government have everything. So they go and talk about Yamashita. He was actually only in power in the Philippines for about 18 months, and that was from 1943 to September of 1945, where he surrendered in Baguio. And this is the same place the Golden Buddha statue, or Roger Rogelio Rojas, found his treasure behind the Baguio hospital. And then they talked about the Golden Lily Code. It's actually called kanji. Basically, there's a lot of descriptions, pictures that were carved on rocks and everything, so the Japanese could come back and find it. But if you look at it, like I said, in what is it, 48 years, no one's found a thing. These symbols don't mean a thing. And while I was looking it up, I actually did find some people that were doing treasure hunting, and I did ask them about it, and they did tell me flat out there are people that do make these symbols on rocks. And they do make mantras in order for people to invest, to say, yeah, there's a marker right there. That means there's gold nearby. And so people will invest money into doing treasure hunting. But nobody has ever found these. And these carvings could be 1 month old, 6 months old, 1 year old. They need to do research on it to find out exactly how long these carvings have been placed there. So they find the pyramid. Now, I'd be really interested in finding out about this pyramid. Like, why is it so symmetrical? What's really good about it? Because it really is fascinating that there's a pyramid rock there, and how did it form and everything. I'd love to know that. And so they call it breach number 3. And so they stick a camera down with a gas meter trying to see if it's poisonous gas, and there is poisonous gas down there. But you figure this, after 43 years being in the open air, there's got to be, with water coming down, rain coming down. I mean, when it rains in there, you can get a foot of rain, 2 feet of rain, 3 feet of rain. So I'm saying that it's got to be to the point where there's no poisonous gas from the Japanese. This is natural gas coming out. And so when the water comes in, it would soak up that gas. If not, the gas would come up. If anything, the air would come down and it would breathe it out. If you put in a gallon of poisonous gas in this area, 45 years, 50 years later, that gas, if there's a lot of air ventilation, is not going to be there anymore. So, okay, so they have those boxes, and then they bring in their little expert and everything, and he's saying that there's gold nearby. There's probably markers, and there's probably a little small patch of gold over here to throw people off, but they've never really said anything. They never found anything, and so they just kind of like feel in there. But that's the episode here, and I'm getting the feeling that there's some inconsistencies in here that may or may not actually come to light. All right, that's my little report here. I'll get more into it next time. Thank you.